You want to know why we attacked that? Or this? Or this port and railroad? So gather around, friends, because we need to talk a bit more in detail about the Belt and Road Initiative. Quick recap. Belt and Road Initiative is the gigantic trade project that China launched back in 2013 that America was like, oh, that's pretty scary for our US dollar. America launched a counter plan, so to speak, called the IMEC or IMEC corridor. These are basically two opposing trade routes that China is ahead of the game in and has a much larger and more expansive plan for. United States was late to the game, but very much not wanting China to complete it first. So if you want to get all technical and point fingers, China started this. That's true. China started this to offset the trade sanctions that were being imposed onto them that America started. But also, does it really matter who started it? Let's talk about who it's good for, right? Let's talk about the people. And just to recap, in case you didn't see any of my previous videos, this is not me saying that China is the holistic world leader or even that they should be at the top of the world. I, like many historians and military experts, am a fan of multipolarity. Currently, we live in unipolarity with the United States at the top. That will not continue. That will not continue because trade routes are shifting due to the climate change-driven melt of the Arctic that is opening new and shorter trade routes. Russia is gaining enough power that America will not be at the top anymore. Period. So our choices are unipolar under Russia, bipolar competing against BRICS, Cold War, big nuclear, we almost lost everyone, right? Or multipolar, which means that China has to have sovereign trade. That being said, the way that China operates these infrastructure deals and the way that they always operate infrastructure deals, it is a debt trap. America, not any better. America simply operates in a military-based trap instead, or trade deal, extraction, labor, etc. My point is, both China and the United States do have the same goals and very similar means to go about achieving those goals, and their goals are not holistic for everyone. But multipolarity is safer for everyone than bipolarity or than unipolarity under the dynamics that we've been offered. So what you're looking at here, this is the Belt and Road Initiative. This is China's plan that they have made significant progress towards to get trade from Asia to the Middle East and eventually through the Mediterranean and into Europe. This is important because, again, they're not an Arctic state. So as that ice is melting and new trade routes are opening, China's not gaining. So they're losing by relativity. They need something to help bring them forward, just as Russia is being brought forward, just as America, who is an Arctic state and who has multiple Arctic state allies, is being brought forward, or China falls behind. And in that way, this is existential for China. So America then comes up with the IMEC, the opposing trade route. Very similar. It gets goods from Asia through the Middle East, up past the Mediterranean and into Europe. Similar, but fewer beneficiaries, more profits for the elites who invest in it, because the profits are less dispersed, because there's less countries, less beneficiaries, less redundancy. But let's get back to the Belt and Road Initiative and specifically Iran. Here's a bridge that we took out in Iran. This was one of the major projects. This was like the crown jewel project of the Belt and Road Initiative before we bombed it. This would have been a faster way to get goods up towards Russia and through Europe. Experts estimate that this could be a 5 to potentially 10-year delay. Next we have, I'm probably going to mispronounce it, Tabriz, petrochemical and industrial complexes. This was how Iran was diversifying away from oil, or away from raw oil and into materials that China was going to use for their manufacturing. This is likely to be an indefinite stall on Iran's diversification and on what they were planning to be able to provide to China. Next up, there were multiple upgrades along the port of Chabahar, the port as well as the railroad. China paid for these. This is a deep water port. This allows goods to get up through Afghanistan and thus connects into Central Asia. This also was the backup plan for, I believe, the disputed territory between Pakistan and India. So this does change the national equilibrium a bit into the favor of the owner of that land, which I believe right now is Pakistan. Next up, the high-speed rail, which is a major a major artery, a major gateway for the Silk Road economic belt that was going to get rail transit from Shanghai all the way through to Istanbul. This is huge. So this is the biggest. This is huge. This redirects the project altogether because now it's not high speed. Now we're back to the 12 hours that it was before instead of the 6 hours that they were intended. Altogether, between all of these strikes, this effectively removes Iran from the Belt and Road Initiative as a feasible partner for the time being. So going forward, infrastructure destroyed, plans destroyed, China's likely to reinvest or to shift their focus essentially into the Trans-Caspian International Transport Route or the Middle Corridor. I know it's small, but countries along this Middle Corridor that could see increased interest, which could be a good thing economically or maybe a bad thing militarily. That's going to be, of course, China, Kazakhstan, Azerbaijan, I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing, Georgia, Turkey, Ukraine, Poland, Romania, Italy, and a few other European countries. The ones that I think are really going to start picking up is definitely going to be Turkey. I think for sure. And then I think that we're all starting to see why some of these other countries have come into the news, whether that be heavily in the news or little mentions here and there, as with Azerbaijan. China is also increasing trade through the maritime Silk Road. And since they're losing their prospects for sovereign trade here, I get pushback every time. I'm going to continue to say I think Taiwan and this general Pacific Asia region is going to be coming up very soon. I simply struggle to see a future where we never see boots on the ground or some sort of strike going on in Taiwan, defending them, whatever we're going to call it. It doesn't matter what you call it. I think that there's going to be contested issues, power grabs in Taiwan. And again, I always get dragged when I bring up Taiwan. I don't care if you call it China, if you call it Taiwan, that land, I think, is going to be coming up under dispute. Further dispute. And because of the Trans-Pacific Partnership of the world, America's not just going to let it go. That, super chips, technology, military bases, general control of the trade routes. This is why I was specifically trying to get people to redirect some of that protest energy into actual strategy, specifically in Arizona, Phoenix, Arizona, where there is a high Taiwanese population, as well as Taiwanese workers in chip factories and AI factories during a time that the lower basin is experiencing a massive water crisis. That was the opportunity. Organizing there legally and tying it to reasonable demands in regards to climate change and human rights, that was the opportunity. Because when things pop off over here, those people are going to be thrown back into survival mode trying to protect their family, and their emotions are going to be brought very, very high from a lifetime worth of trauma as well as propaganda. So I hope this helped to understand some of the strikes that have happened in Iran, to understand the Belt and Road Initiative, to understand the opposing IMEC corridor, where the idea came from, and the fact that neither side is really virtuous, but this is more about strategy in this moment in time. This is more about a push for multipolarity in this moment in time. Comment below your thoughts and follow me for more.